And good morning. Happy Friday. It is Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. Zack Goodman back in with me again one more time this week. And it is a Friday. That means this man is back in studio with us, Chief Grant Poobah here at PressBox, trying to finish up his Immaculate Grid this morning. We were doing sort of like a team effort on Immaculate Grid this morning. I was
struggling. I can tell you that.
You're welcome for Eric Burns, by the way. Say in the fan, Charles.
I didn't put it in yet.
Oh, you didn't use it?
No, I didn't put it in Steve
promise
Finley
you,
either.
I promise you it works.
How many people have you both had in the last 2 weeks say, hey, are you playing Immaculate Grid?
A fair amount, yeah.
I asked Paul on the show last week, and Paul said, well, I know I'm going to quit in like 3 weeks, so I'm not going to even start.
I had, maybe you and I had this conversation the other day, but I definitely.
I think we did.
Paul should do.
Paul, I think out of
pretty good
any
memory.
of the people I know in my life, Paul would probably do the best. Yeah. Paul has an immaculate, excuse the pun, memory when it comes to baseball players and what teams they played for. You know, I don't know why he does, but
you
he
know
does.
Who's incredible?
Patrick Stevens. It's
I heard he had a rarity score of 8.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, doesn't surprise me. I say it surprises me, but it doesn't surprise me.
I had my best rarity score the other day. It was 125.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I
legitimately got like all
That's
9.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I think like 90 was my highest. I don't know.
Your highest or your lowest?
What's the...
You would want to have a low number.
It's a low number.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
No, 90's damn good.
90's
anything
under 100 is very good.
Yeah. Again, like Glenn mentioned earlier off air, it's the former Orioles that might have played for another team for like a month or two that I remember that gets in like the 0.05% or something like that. It's the random guys, maybe a 2005 Oriole or something.
There's
like
an awful
that
lot of
remember for no reason.
Let me put it in terms we might understand. There's a lot of us that play this game that are like the Jimmy Yacobonuses.
Oh my God, Jimmy Yacobonis.
Meaning our rarity score is equivalent to like his ERA.
Yeah, all right, not bad.
Like a 350,
right?
400.
Yeah, we'll
That's
take
like
that.
Jimmy
We'll take
Yacobonis.
that.
We'll take it, but you know, Buck will keep talking to it.
I got tripped up today I told these guys, once I'm not immaculate, I just give up.
Right.
I'm done for the day. I'll play again tomorrow. It's either I'm immaculate or I'm not.
Don't you think you gain more by...
I understand, but the goal to me is I want to see it say that I'm immaculate, and then once I know I'm not going to be immaculate, I just kind of don't care. Today, I got tripped up. It was the Rockies stolen base one. Again, if you're not looking for a spoiler, I don't know, do something else with your time. But I put in Eric Young... Forgot there was Eric Young Sr. and Eric Young Jr.
Yeah.
Then forgot how closely so even the years, like one was through 2008, the other was 2000. Like they followed each other very closely, and
wasn't Eric Young Jr. like a spring training Oriole at some point?
He might have been. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Like a 2017 spring training
I
Oriole.
clicked Eric Young Jr. It was obviously Eric Young Sr., who I'm pretty sure had like 50 stolen base seasons in Colorado.
I got a high percentage guy on that. I got. Can I say it?
Sure.
Charlie Blackmon.
Oh, yeah. Makes all the sense. Makes all the sense.
I had Dante Bichette at 9. So
I did not realize Dante Bichette ever had 30 stolen bases.
He had like 2 years, 3 years where he was a legitimate 5-tool player. Like he could do everything at a time.
Well, I think I just associate him with that. What was the group of him, Galarraga, Vinny Castilla, that were all bombers. Like they just put a roster together that just had nothing but 30 home run hitters.
He stole at one point. Let me see. 31 bases, 1996. That's what it was.
That
And
certainly qualifies.
he never came anywhere close. He never had more than 21 again. So it's odd.
What's the low? Have you guys gotten a
0.0? Yeah.
1%?
I'm trying to think of. God.
I pulled one out of my ass.
If you ever pulled Jimmy Yacobonis,
that would definitely help.
I used Bill Tuttle. I just remembered his baseball card, and then after I got it, I'm going, did he really play for
you were questioning
Athletics?
yourself
I knew he
afterwards.
played for the Twins. Actually, no. It was the other way around. I remembered him playing for the Kansas City Athletics.
Yeah.
And that's the tricky thing. The Athletics would probably be like, if there was an answer that Connie Mack fit, he'd be an Athletic.
Sure, 100%.
From Philadelphia.
100%. All right, Stan is here. We've got a lot to do on a Friday edition of the show. Good to be back on video, although bad news for Zach, unfortunately, is we're still working with two cameras. The one day it was just going to be him. We had no video.
We have. Did you get Shintaro?
Unfortunately,
Fujinami?
we've not been able to track down Shintaro yet, but we're
well,
still
apparently the
working on it.
Orioles haven't either, according to Brandon Hyde. So
there was a moment last night where I was like, why isn't he here? Like, what's
Well, Hyde said we're going to work to get him here in the next few days, and I'm thinking, how hard is it to
You're
fly
not bringing
someone
him from Japan,
California to Florida? Like, this isn't rocket science here.
So anyway, we'll be back on video, which is good, and I appreciate the hard work from a lot of people. The folks with Hammett, John Colson was helping out this morning to make sure that we could get the video back up and running today. Today's show, Tippy Martinez will join us. Of course, all summer long, we've been celebrating the 40th anniversary of the 1983 World Series champion Baltimore Orioles ahead of their event here in Baltimore, which is now in 2 weekends? Yeah, 2 weeks.
August 4th.
Yeah, 2 weeks from now. So we'll catch up with the former Orioles closer, Tippy Martinez. Sal Paolantonio will join us, as earlier in the week he was on ESPN and said that he believes the Ravens can dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs and win the AFC. And also we will make a trip to Delmarva, catch up with shortstop Carter Young, who also happened to be Vanderbilt teammates with one Enrique Bradfield. So a lot to do on the program today. Orioles are in first place, and that's the most pleasant part of the conversation to have.
I said it would be by July.
Was this the date that you had?
I
got to go back and look at our preseason
had a
predictions.
major win at Superbook.
Oh, that's huge. That is huge, Stan. That is big stuff. Last night was interesting because, like, you finally get the start that you've been waiting for from Kyle Gibson, right? Like, you have been trying to figure out what's going on with Gibson. He gives you everything you could possibly ask for. Then there's the question mark about what Brandon Hyde did with the seventh inning. And I get it. I get what he's trying to do by sending Kyle Gibson back out there and shorten the game. And, you know, it's just kind of bad luck in a way that all of a sudden you have runners on first and second. I don't really second-guess the decision to put Cano in. I thought it was aggressive that he was warming to start the inning, and you were saying essentially we're going to go just with Cano and Batista tonight and not put
he basically was saying, I'm not going to have them on Friday, but then I'll have Coulomb and Bauman and maybe Fujinami.
By that point, right.
The real head-scratcher for me, seriously, was why would you've taken the lead, why would you want your entire infield defense to be moved around for Ryan Mountcastle with 2 outs and nobody on base?
Right.
That was a head scratch.
The only hope is that he can run into one, and if they score one run, which when you're starting an inning with the runner on second base, there's a solid chance of that. Now you're playing the rest of the game with a mismatched, kind of screwy infield at that point.
Yeah, I mean, look, Gunnar can play. He can play shortstop.
That's true. Yes,
but do I really want him shifting over with a 1-run lead? I really don't. He's shown a little bit of erraticness with his arm, and I think some of that is from the difference. He keeps moving from third to short and back to third and all that.
Well, it nearly cost you with Frazier at second base, right? At the end of the game. Yeah. This is the look, the metrics say Frazier's having one of the worst defensive seasons in the history of baseball. We can gauge it all we want to gauge it, but it's little things like that you've seen a ton this season from Frazier when he's played second base. Just little bobbles, hitches.
He made that bobble on the game-ending double play.
It nearly cost them an extra out there at the end of the game that they would have had to continue to work with by having Frazier in playing second.
Gunner's arm proved to be pretty good on that play.
Oh my God, that was there was smoke on that ball, right?
Yeah.
Smoke on it. Look, it worked out. All's good. The Orioles win. Credit to everyone. Ramon Urias. I have had this sort of come to Jesus. We had an entire conversation about it yesterday, Stan. I don't think we've ever given Ramon Urias enough credit. I think that we've always kind of looked at him as, replacement level baseball player. Yeah. Like, nice for now, but when the real players...
They caught a little bit of lightning in a bottle with him when they brought him in
I
2
think
years
we've
ago.
almost missed the fact that Ramon Urias has proven to be
player.
A really professional, quality baseball player.
Yep.
He's always been good enough as a hitter and so exceptionally good defensively.
Yeah.
And it's been a pleasant reminder over the course of the last couple of days of just how good Ramon Arias really is. That play last night is
it's just a really, really nice
with the game on the line, and never, no panic, no. It was to him a routine play, right?
Got up calmly and knew. He could tell spatially, I got to put a little something extra on this throw, and he did.
And it's at his second position, by the way. It's not even at his best position that he's making that play.
Not where he's a Gold Glover.
Right, correct. He's playing another position and made one of the best plays that we've seen. I mean, the day after he made one of the best plays we've ever seen at third base. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, that was an insane play.
It was bonkers how good that play was. So I think that this has been a nice reminder over the last 48 hours of how good Ramon Arias is.
Just sharpening that trade value.
But perhaps that's what I would say. He's a guy suddenly you're able to hold on to suddenly you don't have to even mention Kobe Mayo in a trade. Because some team would
there's
give
a lot
you
of
something.
There is a lot of value in Ramon Arias.
I think there's definitely going to be a taker for him if the Orioles dangle that. I think there's got to be.
I think a good baseball team would say we could take Ramon Arias right now.
Glenn, you said what? 20 teams you think would have him as a starter?
We were doing that, Matt. How many teams do you think Ramon Arias could be a starting third baseman for in baseball? I get
New York Yankees.
100%.
Undoubtedly,
Donaldson is probably done.
Because at first,
career is over.
At first, Zach said, I think it's like 15 teams, and I was like, I think that might be on the shallow end.
Yeah, it could be.
I think it might be more like 20 to 25 teams that Ramon Arias could start for in baseball.
He'd certainly play a lot for a lot of teams. They would love his his versatility.
Mm-hmm. It's been great the last couple of days. Great. And then obviously, I don't know what else we say about Felix Bautista. It's unbelievable. I mean,
I'll
really
say something that I've never said about anybody else. Because of what he is, a relief pitcher, he's only going to face you one time, and you may have seen him 2 days ago, but you haven't seen him for, he may be the most difficult pitcher for a batter to face that I've ever seen in Major League Baseball.
Wow. That's a strong statement, Stan.
I mean, the 6'7" that he's coming down at you, and he's got absolutely, I'd say he's got somewhat remarkable control for what he is, for getting that body,
sure,
the mechanics to be in the same position. He's just.
I think I'd argue Aroldis Chapman, just because of the fact that he's a lefty. Makes it maybe a little bit tough. Like if you're a lefty and you face Aroldis Chapman,
you have no hope.
You have no hope.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's no chance. No chance that you can ever see what's coming. I understand that though.
Bautista's arguably better than Chapman was in his best days. But I don't know. Chapman.
What was Chapman's at his best?
His
what was
best
his strikeout
rate
percentage?
his best strikeout rate was 1.667. I want to say per inning.
So that translates 2 out of every 3, or
I don't think it's quite 2 out of every 3.
I mean, it's over 50%.
It's
right?
essentially 1 2/3 out of every 3, right? So Bautista is tracking at more like 2 out of every 3. Right.
I can't remember anybody more difficult.
It's insane. I mean, it really is absolutely bonkers what he's been able to accomplish. And, nice that he was pitch efficient in the ninth inning last night.
2 years ago, now every prospect, we know about him 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall. Do you recall in 2020 or even 21 really hearing much about Bautista?
I think because he was a minor league free agent signing that there really weren't that many people focused on him. I do remember when I was in high school, I worked at, and this was 20.
Was he a Kobe?
19.
Was he Kobe Perez?
I honestly don't know. Yeah. No, he was just a minor league signing. He was in the Marlins organization prior to this, and I worked at Aberdeen for a little while, and I saw what Bautista did, and I saw him throwing 100, 101, and I was like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, I've never heard of this guy, and here he is, closing games often and reaching 101, 102, and he still obviously was as big as he is now back then, and it's again probably because he wasn't drafted by the organization or signed by the organization outside of what they did as a minor league free agent. That's why he hasn't gotten that kind of coverage.
I'll tell you one
That's
thing,
my guess.
In 15 years, if I need him as a guest on Immaculate Grid, he'll be indelibly
No, it was a great night. Obviously, the Orioles get a game on the Rays. Of course, still a lot of work to do this weekend with 3 more games, including tonight.
Well, we got Bradish versus Eflin tonight.
Yes, Bradish Eflin tonight. Grayson, Shane McClanahan tomorrow, and on Sunday, Tyler Wells, Taj Bradley. The pitching matchups for the rest of the weekend.
Shane McClanahan, that's
that's a hell of a fire. It's that fire that you're throwing Grayson Rodriguez into. You're gonna
nice to win tonight.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. You don't feel great about that going into Saturday. There's no question that you don't feel great about that whatsoever.
I stand by the way, and I'd be curious what Zach thinks because I know he's a real student. Not that you're not, but
I don't even like it. I don't really even pay attention.
I still stand by the column I wrote that Grayson should have come up to be in the exact role that they used Cole Irvin the other night, that they got it backwards. Grayson Rodriguez, I'll be very clear, is a starting pitcher long term, but there is no gigantic upside to him coming into the Orioles rotation this year. He's just not. It's not like he's coming in and being Sandy Koufax or something like that. He pitched well the other night, but I would have much rather taken my chances with Cole Irvin for 4 to 5 innings and then had Grayson to pitch to the Dodgers rather than Brian Baker.
Well, we agree about that.
Yeah.
Zach, I don't know how Zach feels, but I've told you before, as high as I am on Grayson and as many question marks as I've had on Cole Irvin, the innings thing with Grayson is still going to be the thing that's going to shout the most to me. Like, he's not going to pitch every 5th day for the rest of the season.
Right.
So if the point of doing this now is we think we're acquiring a starter at the deadline, so whoever it is only going to be in the rotation for another
week or 2 weeks.
Cole Irvin's point when we had him on yesterday about how he handled this, I thought was really thoughtful. He's a very thoughtful guy. He's very thoughtful, and I mean, if you missed our conversation with Cole Irvin yesterday, we couldn't get him off the phone. I mean, I said, "Dude, you got to go." He's like, "Nah, man, I got all the time in the world." He was great. He said they presented it to me ahead of the All-Star break, and I was struggling with it. I was really struggling. But the way they talked about it was, think about this is going to be your role in the postseason. And he said, if that's going to be my role in the postseason, let me have 2 months to get comfortable with it, adjust to it, be ready for it. And that really, like, I'm happy to be in that role because I want to be that best version of that when we get to the postseason. And I thought that was an incredibly thoughtful answer.
And that shows some thoughtful communication that went on between Mike Elias and the player, and Brandon Hyde.
I wonder if the thought of putting Grayson in now isn't, look, we're planning on acquiring a pitcher. We'll see. We're planning on acquiring a pitcher at the deadline anyway. This gives us an opportunity to let Grayson get 4 or so more starts before then. And then we know we're going to have to limit his innings after that.
That's a reasonable thought.
And then maybe he moves into that role after that point, right?
Now, let me ask you one other question. First of all, I didn't get your opinion. Do you think Grayson would have been better off at this point in his career and what the team needs are coming up and being in the bullpen as a long guy?
Well, I still think when the day they brought him up, which was kind of a spot start that they needed, and Cole Irvin hadn't pitched that well, and they just kind of needed a guy. I thought that was rushed. I thought the Orioles, with every other guy they've brought up, have really had a plan and a reason as to why they're bringing a guy up. And it seemed like with Grayson, well, we really don't have another option. It's going to be Grayson Rodriguez. And we don't want it to be one of these random AAA guys who we have brought up and down for the past 2 years we don't really love. So they kind of made it Grayson, and I don't think that was a great way to start off his career. I don't really think that was ever the plan, and they kind of just went completely off the cuff with that. So I think, yes, absolutely he should have started in the bullpen, done a little bit of work there, gotten comfortable, and then maybe shifted into a starter role if you like what you see.
And then
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and then I give Mike Elias, I applauded his picking up an obscure pitcher with a tremendous upside in short windows. But isn't it interesting that they went outside the organization and said, look at this guy as a reliever, when he was horrible as a starter, and they somehow still haven't arrived at that decision.
I did read your column about that. Look, I
applaud Mike for picking this guy up. He's still out there. What they're doing with him, I have no idea.
You and I have had a conversation. At this point, I have to start to think there's a bigger DL Hall problem.
There has to be.
Like, I just have the idea that they wouldn't have done this by now suggests to me, whether it's a Jorge Lopez thing, whether it's a, whatever, it's starting to feel like they're not
deeper,
talking about something else related to DL Hall. They're trying to deflect
like him
from
and
it.
Urias go in the trade together.
That very well could be the case. DL Hall has really, I hate to use this term, but kind of crashed and burned over the last 2 years. We haven't seen a lot to really love.
No, I know.
And I'm getting to the point where I'm saying,
but we can have a lot of discussions about how did we get to that point. Because to Stan's point,
well, I know what you're saying.
From the end of last year, I think a lot of us were confused as to what they were trying to prove by putting him back as a starter this season.
I like to believe that Mike Elias gives a lot of thought to these things.
Mm-hmm.
It was really weird the way they brought him up last year, started him in Tampa. Then it wasn't like it was secret.
I totally agree.
They said, we're going to convert him into being a relief pitcher.
Right.
And then suddenly he pitched fairly well in a couple of appearances. I mean, he had a couple he blew up in, but there was going to be a learning curve for him emotionally and mentally. And then all of a sudden, almost like
it didn't happen. Right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Reliever. Right.
No,
He's a starter.
No,
That's
he's
what
a
it
starter.
is.
What term did they use
What is
this
he
year?
doing right
They used
now?
deloading. was the
Deloading.
term. Yeah.
Is he he's still deloading in Florida?
I honestly don't
It's the
know.
last thing we've heard.
And I think, if I'm kind of going off what Glenn said, there has to be something else that we don't know. Because the term deloading, first of all, never heard that before. I don't know what that means. I assume they just mean like taking the stress off him and taking
the
as many
people that I
innings off
talked
him as
to
they can.
around the
Does it
organization
mean he's
said
like constipated? He's deloading?
when I talked to people around the organization, they said that's not make believe. It's something. It is a term that is used within this club. It is something that we have discussed, but still. How long does that take? How long do you deload before you would rather have a pitcher facing real competition?
And again, as long as we haven't really had an update on DL Hall. It's not like we've heard, he's rehabbing in Florida and things are going great, or he's expected to join AAA in the next few days or whatever. We haven't heard anything.
No, and that's why it allows me to think I have to assume there's something else here.
If there's not some deeper thing, in my opinion, I would trust him coming in relief tomorrow.
I'm not sure
with the stuff he has.
I mean, what are the circumstances? In a high leverage spot? I don't know if I'm ready
Not
to do
a high
that.
leverage spot. Sixth inning, seventh inning.
I am
still an incredible weapon, but I found it very interesting that they picked a pitcher
that
is doing exactly what I
failed as a starter,
but
has all of the the skill set, the velocity, all of those things.
Stan was pretty on the money with it. Like really a year ago when he came on our show, on the Bataround and talked about.
Stan's been on DL Hall as a reliever for years.
He's been talking about it for quite a while, and it seems like at this point that is the only way you're going to get something out of this guy. The only way, and even if that's probably. At this point, a question mark. Because again,
I think anything is a question.
Anything's a question mark. Yeah.
When a guy's just hanging out, this is Alek Manoah, except it's been there. He's been there for. He's just hanging out in rookie league ball.
Right.
What is that?
Maybe he likes the food in Sarasota.
I mean, maybe that Amish
there.
place that everybody loves so much. So
by the
good.
way, did you happen to notice that the other pitcher, not the other pitcher, because I didn't have Fujinami on the radar for me picking him up in a pennant race.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that I wanted him to get, I was hoping they would get Barlow,
Scott Barlow
and Carlos Hernandez.
Okay.
Did you see the write-up that they did on Carlos Hernandez?
I did not, no.
On MLB Trade Rumors.
No, I did not.
It was amazing. I picked him up, first of all, in my fantasy league
that
for
poor
$1.
son of a bitch.
Because I figured,
his career is going down the tubes now.
It's over.
I'm strongly in second place right now.
There we go.
But I was assuming they're going to trade Barlow, and he'll end up getting saves before this year.
Okay.
But the more I thought about it, I said, boy, I'd really like him here in Baltimore. They did a deep dive. It says under radar pitcher could be proved to be very sought after, and it did like 6 paragraphs on Carlos Hernandez.
I would be very on board for that.
Yep.
I think Zach and I both agreed yesterday. I don't think that they can internally say we got Fujinami, we're good.
No,
that
Mike's
can't.
on to plan B.
I think that's like part one of 3 steps.
Yeah.
Look, which again, I'm on board with it. It just can't be that was what we did to address the bullpen as we continue to see. And look, that was a tough spot for Cano to come in with 2 runners on base, but your leverage pitchers have to be guys that can come in with runners on base.
I'll tell you what. You talk about a trade. There's a trade. D.L. Hall and Ramon Urias to Kansas City for Scott Barlow. And I'll even throw in another D like Hudson Haskin or something like that.
He's hurt right now.
For Scott Barlow and Carlos Hernandez. And I'll tell you what, we'd be one heck of a dangerous team.
I would think they would probably be less inclined to take a major leaguer back in a deal like that, right? Like I don't know that Urias would be the guy that they would want, but I get what you're saying. I feel like
they've got a lot of holes, that team.
I understand. I just feel like that's the type of team that says, "Give me Young, give me."
I'll still give him Young. I'll give him
one guy, by the way, that no one's really mentioned as a trade chip, but I think is very possible is Dylan Beavers, considering that Dylan Beavers kind of struggled this year so far. At least last time I checked the numbers, that was probably a month ago. But he hadn't been great. High draft pick. Guy with a lot of tools, was taken, in the 2nd round last year, 3rd round. So I think there is a very high possibility that's a guy the Orioles could pair with someone like Ramon Urias and say, okay, here's a major leaguer and a guy who's probably not all that far away from being a major leaguer. Right. And then you're looking really good in that kind of scenario.
Let's grab a break here, as we are scheduled to be joined by Tippy Martinez when we come back in, celebrate the 40th anniversary of the 1983 World Series. Today's show brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Go there right now. Get $150 in bonus bets from DraftKings after you place your first $5 bet. See that and other great sportsbook offers. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Stan the Fan is here. It's a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Hike to new heights. The best view is yours in Washington County. Our iconic scenic overlooks provide some of the most breathtaking vistas in the Mid-Atlantic. Some are very easy walks, some can be driven to, and some are the payoff for a moderate to difficult hike. All are near quaint small towns that offer great dining, shopping, hiking gear, and more. Explore our 5 national parks for iconic vistas and wineries with breathtaking views. Visit our quaint historic towns and make your stay unforgettable. Learn more at visithagerstown.com. Maryland, be open.
Maryland drivers, did you know you can save up to 77% on tolls with an Easy Pass Maryland discount plan? That's right, 77%. It's never been easier. Pick the plan that's right for you at driveezmd.com. We'll keep you moving.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand. Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
Your summer destination is closer than you think at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. With an expansive gaming floor and incredible dining options ready for you to explore, your adventure awaits. Dine at the new Coho Korean Barbecue House coming in July or on the patio at the Prime Rib. Enjoy the summertime breeze at Orchid Smoking Patio. Limited time packages starting at $229. What are you waiting for? Book now. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Kahn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
Quick update. There was a report earlier in the week that the Ravens were maybe going to be signing Dwayne Smoot, who had been an edge rusher with the Jaguars last season, but dealt with some injuries. Instead, he is re-signing in Jacksonville. So the Ravens will have to go back to the drawing board. Maybe that's bringing back Justin Houston. I think there's been some confusion as to why maybe that hadn't happened already, bringing back Justin Houston, but you would think that they would still be interested in trying to bring in at least one more veteran edge rusher to what is a thin spot on their roster. Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Stan the Fan Charles is in studio with us this morning. Stan, you had a show last night.
Yeah, we had a show last night. Very entertaining interview with
John Murray.
John Murray of Superbook.com.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's by the way, he's available.
Well, we'll definitely
he'll do in the morning. I explained to him.
We will definitely end up taking advantage of that. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
He's very available and very entertaining.
You can find that right now, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Stan, Gary Stein, and John Murray from Superbook. All summer long, Stan, and I don't know if you've been here for any of these yet this summer, but we've been inviting members of the 1983 World Series champion Orioles on just to reflect as we celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Orioles' last World Series title. Of course, the Orioles will be celebrating that with all the guys getting back together in 2 weeks. Joining us now, former Orioles closer, the absolute legend. He is the great Tippy Martinez, and he's with us here on GCR. Tippy, it's Glenn and Stan the Fan Charles. It is great to catch up with you, sir. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Oh, great for having me on. It's been a while since I have been on a radio show or television or anything of that nature, so this is pretty exciting for me. It's kind of like being my first year in the major league.
Oh, stop, Tippy. Hey, I think I've been dying. I have been dying.
Well, I had to put something in there, you know.
I have always wanted to ask you this question, Tippy. Think of the slowest base runner that you ever had to deal with in your career, and tell me, with his life on the line, could Len Sakata have possibly thrown them out attempting to steal second base?
Well, you know, I really don't want to even think about that, because I was telling Lenny, I said, Lenny, I just hope he can catch a fastball, let alone I can't throw my curveball, Lenny. I can't throw because I know you're going to miss it. And because I live with my curveball was looking like a strike and then being a ball. So, you know, Dempsey was not hitting at the time. And Lenny says, well, maybe I can start a whole new career if I can throw somebody out. I said, well, not at my expense. So, yeah, that was just crazy. We just had a little conversation on that. But, you know, Lenny had a quick release and quick throw. I mean, I will say that from second base. So I just didn't know if he could really do that from home plate, and I just didn't want to take any chances. And it just worked out perfectly.
Hey, Tippy, first of all, it was 40 years ago. It was my first year really on the radio on weekends on WFBR. So 1983, very special to me. But I want to go back a few years prior to that, mid-June 1976. You're traded along with Dempsey, McGregor, and a couple others that came here. What was because we've talked to Dempsey was crushed when he was traded to Baltimore initially. What was your take on that trade from a personal level? Were you happy about it, or you would always look forward to being a Yankee?
Well, I was obviously I wasn't happy about it, being still a rookie at the time. I guess you might say to some degree, but with being with Rick, with him, Maheen and Hahn and what have you. But I would call him more still maybe in shock that I was involved in the trade so early, and obviously it turned out to be a blessing because Rick played more. Earl asked me if I wanted to start or relieve, and I said, well, I want to relieve. I want to try to catch the Yankees. So it was more of a vendetta, I guess you might say, trying to catch him, but that was just too far ahead.
Tippy Martinez is with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Tippy, as we talk about that 83 team, I feel like everybody that was on the 79 team that we have chatted with this summer has said we were hell-bent, right? Like that was still so fresh in our memories, and it was still, until Game 5 was won, we were still thinking about it. How much did what happened in 79 drive you over the course of the next couple of seasons and help lead to what ultimately occurred in 1983?
Yeah, it was probably a couple things. Losing in 79, we all knew we had a chance. We had something special with the team, the camaraderie, the talent, the whole 9 yards. We just knew that we could probably go back again early from losing in 79. So I think if anything, keeping guys together, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for some reason, that was the time when Peters was signing guys who he wanted back, and it was a lot of us that signed 5-year contracts, and that's why we wanted to stay together. So that was the big point as far as everybody staying together.
Going back, I hate to keep going back before that, to the trade. You were a teammate, weren't you? Were you in the same career path as Guidry?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Guidry, and I guess I should say this on radio because I heard from the horse's mouth at one time when Billy was around. He says, you weren't even supposed to be in that trade.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Guidry, right?
It was supposed to have been Guidry who's been that trade, and you were supposed to stay in with the Yankees. And I said, really? And so, well, hey, I'm sorry to say Baltimore didn't get Guidry, but I'm glad it came.
I think it worked out okay for everybody. I think it worked out all right for everybody involved. Tippy, it's funny because just a couple of weeks ago, the current Orioles were going through a little bit of a funk, and a lot of people reminded us that, those 83 World Series champions, you guys won or lost 7 straight games 2 different times during the course of that season.
And at least 4 3-game losing streaks in between.
What was it about that team that in those dark patches that you guys were not overly affected by it and you were able to bounce right back out and get right back on track?
Well, it's really kind of interesting that you mentioned that because I was playing golf with Singleton, and he says, remember the days, and we always talk about the days when we played, and I can always remember, I always told Kenny, what always stuck in my mind is when I came into a game, if we were losing by a run, 2 runs, 3 runs, it didn't make any difference when I came in the game, but if his saying is, hey, just keep it close, something good will happen. And I think that was really kind of our motto, besides the Oriole magic, is, keep it close, something good will happen. And eventually, things happen. So we just never gave up, until that last out.
Tippy, I never really bought this, but I've got to ask somebody that was in that locker room day in and day out. An awful lot of people have said to me over the years, they won in 83 to stick it up Earl's you-know-what. That it was like sort of they were motivated to prove it wasn't Earl the genius, but it was the players. Is there any truth to that at all?
No, that's just rumors as far as that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Earl was a great manager. He made the right moves. He had the right clientele, so to speak, when to make moves. Yeah, but he had to make those moves in order for his players to be, succeed. I'll give you an example, like Lowenstein and Renicky, playing those positions, or a Benny Ayala type of thing. He knew what players could do. So you still had to make those moves, even though you had talent. So, but no, it was nothing personal. It was just something that we knew that we could do.
Let me go back to we started talking about the night that you picked off all three guys. I'm going to go back to that night if I could, Tippy, because I wonder how long it was after that. And look, obviously it being punctuated by Lenny hitting the home run. It's one of the most magical memories in Orioles history.
And Cal hit a home run that night that night to tie the game, and it was on his birthday in a year that Bill James, his book. He had written about players performing on their birthdays.
So I wonder how long it took for you to realize how special that was, and how for the rest of your life it was going to be with you, and people were going to be calling you, and you were the guy that picked off three. Like, how long did it take for you to realize how truly magical that had been, and how it was going to stay with you forever?
Well, it came awfully quick, to be honest with you, because every time I went and did appearances or, for the club and all that kind of stuff, that's all people said. It's, hey, I remember those three pickoffs, and that was their first question. I mean, it was kind of like, well, what did it feel like? It's unbelievable. And I still get goosebumps just listening on radio. I think radio really did a great job with it at the time, and it was so exciting. It just kind of gives you chills, and then you kind of put two and two together. And because I was kind of like, hey, I did more than that, guys. I did more than three guys off my whole career. But it became really special, especially listening on the radio how it was presented and stuff. And I realized, well, now I understand even more so.
That's cool. It's really cool that you still get that sort of goosebumpy feeling going back and listening to it. Is there something else that you would say, Tippy, like when somebody asked how did it happen, right? How did that team end up becoming World Series champions? Is there someone that maybe you doesn't get enough credit from that team for what it is they did? Is there a story about that team that you think helps explain why you guys were able to become World Series champions a little bit more?
Well, that's a little bit of a tougher question, but I think if anything is that everybody – I wouldn't call it being not selfish or wanting to be in the glory side of it where, hey, I did this. I think if anything is that somebody wanted to do something special, especially in that particular game role that they played in that particular game, that they wanted to do something for the ball club, and they knew they could do something for the ball club. And it just kind of gelled, and it just filtered throughout to the ball club. Everybody wanted to do something special and do their part, what they were capable of doing.
It worked out okay. It worked out all right for this team. Tippy, living around here, have you been able to watch much of this current team? I don't know if you heard, but the closer here these days, he's kind of okay.
Well, you know what? I came close to throwing 100 miles an hour and making two pitches out of that thing, so I think the highest I ever threw, like maybe 89, 90 at most, topping out. But I tell you what, these guys today are so strong, and they're so conditioned. I wish they could go a little bit longer with these pitchers and stuff. But closers and stuff today, it's just amazing. I mean, I take my hat off to some of these guys. If I was facing a guy through 100 miles an hour, I think I'd be stepping into the other dugout. So. But, the Orioles are so exciting to watch. I've been talking to a lot of people. I said, I just love the ball club. I love the catcher. He reminds me a lot of Rick. No matter how good you do or how bad you do, he always comes up and talks to you, pats you in the butt, type of thing, and gets you going. He's got something special with the pitchers. He handles the pitchers very well.
Tippy, how much are you looking forward to the get-together? I hear there's going to be about 20 players still around that are going to come. I know Lowenstein won't show up. But seriously, how excited are you to see the guys? Is it still meaningful to the guys to get together to celebrate that season?
Oh, absolutely. Because, everybody's got little stories. You know that as well as I do. It's going to be especially exciting because to see Len Sakata, I think he's coming all the way from Hawaii. And I think he had some issues as well, health-wise. And, for him to come and for the Orioles to fly him that far away to come to meet the guys again, to have that to get together again for 83, it's just going to be really special for me.
It's going to be special for everybody.
Yep.
And it helps that, as you mentioned, the Orioles are really good, and it's going to be an electric weekend.
It's going to be a really cool
It's going to be an awesome weekend in Baltimore. Martinez to Murray once, Martinez to Murray twice, Martinez to Murray 3 times, in the words of the immortal Tom Marr.
Technically, that third one, right, Barry Bunnell, that was called a caught stealing. Am I right, Tippy?
Well, that's what they said.
Because he actually,
Are they watching the same game that I'm in?
Well, I mean, he was picked off, but the fact that he kept running, made it a caught stealing. Technically,
we all know what happened. Tippy Martinez. Go ahead.
Well, the one thing I want to say is that with those 3 pickoffs, people just don't know this, is that there was a guy on first base already when I came into the game, and that's when Toronto went ahead. So just to clarify that.
Who cares? We don't need all of those details. It's one of the great memories in Orioles history. Tippy Martinez.
I appreciate it.
Truly appreciate taking the time for us. Can't wait to see you and all the guys back here in Baltimore in 2 weekends. Really appreciate you doing this and look forward to seeing you then.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tip.
A great Tippy Martinez with us here on GCR.
I watched that game in the booth that night. In the WFBR radio booth at Memorial Stadium. It was unbelievable.
And, of course, Lenny Sakata hits the home run. A lot of people – so it was – whose home run was it in 79 that we always refer to as the night that Orioles Magic was born?
Doug, that was in 76.
76, thank you.
No, I'm sorry. It was 79. Doug DeCences.
Right.
Doug
correct.
DeCences, yeah.
And then, of course –
he was not on the team in 83.
That night, I think, stands out when we talk about the infancy of Oriole Magic, obviously, in August of 83.
He was traded for Dan Ford, and the reason he was traded – was because he was the player rep for the Orioles, and Edward Bennett Williams was kind of ticked off at him for not cluing him in on some stuff, and they got rid of him.
That unfortunately, that's not all that surprising, is it?
Nope.
Not all that surprising.
Nope.
Stan, I want to take a minute. Sal Paolantonio is going to join us at the top of the hour, but we haven't had an opportunity. We lost an American icon. Tony Bennett has passed away at the age of 96, and in a way, I'm glad that in the last 10 years there was a new generation that was able to discover Tony Bennett because of what he did with Lady Gaga, right?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, those albums, phenomenal. I mean, really, really good. And the way that she protected. I'm sorry, I'm trying. I did. Yeah, on the picket line where actually, David Simon shared that out on Twitter yesterday, and I saw that, which was really cool. And I think a lot of people maybe learned about Tony Bennett because of that in the last 10 years, but truly an American icon, truly one of the most talented humans that has lived in the last century. And it's funny because I don't know I have a personal, story of a Tony Bennett but every Tony, I just love. I popped it on Spotify this morning. I'm like, God, there's nothing like Tony Bennett.
Yeah, he was an incredible human being and had his foibles. And it was interesting. I was listening to the Morning Joe show coming in, and they were talking about him, about how. And you know what's incredible about Tony Bennett? He never had a dark side where something was wrong. He was always, everything was so positive. And then during the news on the show, they did a canned piece that somebody with NBC, I think it might have been Rahima Ellis, did this piece. And I did not know that Tony Bennett had drug addiction.
I do remember that.
In the 70s, into the early 80s, and really had basically disappeared for all intents and purposes.
Incredible talent.
Yeah.
Incredible talent.
One of my favorite singers of all time. I was a Giant fan back in those days, so I left my heart in San Francisco was just
What did you love
always-
for the Giant? I don't know where that. What's the story?
Willie Mays.
Just Willie Mays.
Willie Mays, yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, like we were talking the other day about I have had a thing. So we had on my radio show the other night, I had Devereaux call in because he had done the games over the weekend, and I was talking about how he was legitimately my favorite Oriole growing up. Right? Like that's not like I've said that a million times. He was my favorite Oriole, and then I said, but I also just have had a center fielder thing. Like my favorite players to watch
always were center fielders.
Like
yeah.
everybody talks about Ken Griffey. Like nobody, when you say Ken Griffey was your favorite player to watch, you're like join the club. That was everybody. But for me, I was an obsessed Kenny Lofton guy. Like I would watch Kenny Lofton.
I used him in today's Immaculate
Oh,
Grid.
with the yeah, sure,
30
absolutely.
stolen
with the
base
Indians.
season for the Indians.
Center fielders to me were the guys that made you want to watch baseball. Right?
Well, how about New York City in the 50s? Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, and Duke Snider.
Not bad. Not bad.
Duke Snider
Decent
was a
little
great
collection
player.
of center fielders. And of course, in Baltimore, we've been blessed with kind of a really it's not Hall of Famers, but it's the same types of entertaining, quality baseball players for the better part of 40 years, right? And like and Cedric's certainly become part of that. With how he plays, but
Paul Blair
was
the greatest defensive center fielder I've ever seen for catching the baseball.
Sure, there's just something about center fielders and their range and the spectacular plays that they make. That is always I have associated love of baseball with love of center fielders in my life. Just guys that I
So
always
you like that song, Center Field?
Put me in, coach, 100%. Like I don't know what it is, but there is a center field sort of obsession that I have had in my life, and so I get it. I completely get it. Tony Bennett passed away at the age of 96.
96.
Had been in bad health for the last couple of years and hadn't made many public appearances, but Jesus, a 96-year life and squeezed just about every ounce you could get. I had a friend who actually saw him at Wolf Trap like 5 years ago and said he was still sharp.
Yeah.
And in fact, there was like Lady Gaga came out apparently during that show, which was really cool. But, he was just running through the numbers. There was no chatter. There was no, here are the songs, I'm going to sing them, and then we're going to move on. But he said it was absolutely worth it to be able to see Tony Bennett, which is a really cool thing. I feel like there was something else that I had on the list for you that I wanted to get to, and now I'll tell you what. We'll take a break, and I'll see if I can remember it before we come back in. We're also going to be joined by Sal Paolantonio from ESPN, as we'll get his thoughts on why he believes the Ravens could dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC. Today's show brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
It's another exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Bay Sox. Weekend starts on the 21st with our Bowie Pit Beef Night. Come on out and grab a bite. Back-to-back fireworks carry on to Saturday with the Island Luau, a free Bay Sox Hawaiian shirt to the first 750 fans. And it closes on Sunday with Heroes Day. Bay Sox jerseys auctioned off to support local charities. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at baysox.com. The Bowie Bay Sox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
The All-America Senior Game powered by New Balance will be back at Johns Hopkins Homewood Field on July 29th. The most decorated girls and boys lacrosse players in the country have been invited to play in what is the premier lacrosse event of the year. Every college coach wants their players in this game, and if you dream of being in this game, you start by trying out for one of your regional underclass teams this summer. The best against the best. Get your tickets now at allamericalacrosse.com.
Soak up summertime fun in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouth-watering eats, and endless entertainment. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards. Pick crabs by the waterfront. Beat the heat inside a world-class museum and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
I'm Michael Jangrandi, president of AJ Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Dave Ginsburg remembers Goose as he looks back on the impact that late Tony Saragusa had both on and off the field here in Baltimore. Plus, he explains how Goose's kids are working to continue that legacy with the Goose Flights program. Also inside, Todd Karpovich profiles the path Tyler Wells has taken to becoming a star in the Orioles rotation. And you'll find a special summer travel guide with information about events and activities throughout the state. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
It's a Maryland thing you wouldn't understand. Where the waves meet the shore, you will find Dorchester County. Hi, this is Jimmy Charles. When I think of Maryland, I think Dorchester County on the eastern shore where it's open for making memories. Dorchester County, it's a Maryland thing. For more info, visit www.visitdorchester.org. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah. It's a Maryland thing. Hell yeah.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know it's on Grindr or anything, I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
All right, Stan. This would go no better for me. I want to make that abundantly clear. But I remember one of the things I wanted to do with you today is I wanted you to tell. I'm going to read off the names that are the top of the British Open leaderboard, and I want you to tell me how many of them you've heard of.
Okay.
Just heard of.
Sure.
Because I'm only saying this because I was struggling with it.
Ricky Fowler.
Ricky Fowler is not at the top of the
Struggling. He's even right now.
But he had a rough final hole yesterday.
You know
right?
what? Ricky Fowler is being Ricky Fowler. That's just.
I think he was playing well yesterday. Got to the 18th and hit two balls out of bounds and ended up making an 8 on the final hole of the day yesterday. So the leader of the British Open currently at 10 under, already finished his second round, Brian Harman.
Mrs. Harman's
son, exactly right.
Yeah.
I know you've heard of the next couple of names.
Sure.
Jordan Spieth is in second place right now.
Got
You
that
definitely
name,
know who
yeah.
Jordan Spieth is.
Under Armour spokesperson.
I think you might have. I don't know if you've heard of Tommy Fleetwood.
I've heard the name, but if you had said to me wasn't in this
what does Tommy
sport,
Fleetwood do?
I would have probably guessed race car driver.
Right.
Glenn, by the way, my trivia question is going to be based around golf. So
I'm probably not going to do well.
I won't be here for that.
Oh yeah, you got to duck out early.
Oh, that's going to be fun for you, Glenn.
One that I almost certainly you will know. We learned yesterday he's 50 years old. Stuart Sink.
Yes.
Is in fourth place.
Yes.
Now it's going to get a little dicey. Antoine Rosner is tied for fourth.
No, never heard of Antoine.
That makes two of us. Min-Woo Lee is at 3 under.
No, I have no idea.
I only know because Drew talks about him a lot.
What country is he from?
Min-Woo Lee is from...
I'm going to guess Korea.
Actually...
Yeah, I would guess
I
Korea.
think that's what it is.
Let me double check on that because...
He's
actually from Australia.
Oh.
Really?
He's actually from Australia.
Interesting,
okay. Matthew Jordan.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Is that Michael Jordan's son?
I don't know.
That's Michael
Jordan. I don't know. Wyndham Clark.
Yes.
I've heard of Wyndham Clark.
You should because he won the US
He won
Open.
a couple weeks ago.
He won the US Open. Adrian Otegi.
No.
Yep. Makes a couple. Emiliano Grillo.
No.
Yeah.
His name's come up a little bit.
If you say, I believe you.
Yeah.
Shubhankar Sharma.
No.
All right.
Sounds like a law firm of two Indians.
Matthew Southgate.
Never heard of Matthew Southgate.
Thurston Lawrence.
Never heard of Thurston.
And then finally we get to Roy McIlroy.
I've heard of him.
Right, you've heard of
He's a decently big name.
Yeah,
you know?
I've heard of him.
Some people have heard of him.
Yeah.
By the way, I pulled an immaculate grid out.
That's right. Stan the Fan. Immaculate today. Nice pull on, I don't know if.
Nick Hundley.
Yeah, that's a nice pull. Really nice pull. Won't tell you which one of those.
2%er.
No, that's a
He
really
had to
good
be
one.
a San Diego
2%?
Padre.
2% of people guessed
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Probably people that
Because
were
he's
either
not
in,
that. Because
Yeah.
he's not that. It's not. It was like he was in the 2012 Orioles.
right.
or
Yeah.
14
Yes, if he had played for the '92 Orioles, then he
Nobody
would be
would remember.
0.02% on
Yeah.
Nick Hundley. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It still seems like a high number. I also just don't think there are a lot of obvious ones.
Like, I don't think until today, until you
Would-
guys said
hang
it,
on,
I
would
don't
my-
think Nick
here's
Hundley's crossed my mind.
My question is, would my guy have worked?
Would Eric Schau? Can you go back and is there?
Well, we can just look him up.
Yeah.
We can do that. By the way, my guy would have worked.
Who was that?
Andy Ashby.
Andy Ashby.
Andy Ashby
was a
would have
good
worked. And you said Eric Schau.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
I know he pitched for the Padres.
Eric Schau.
Seems like whenever a pitcher goes bad for the Padres, they end up in Colorado.
Would have been. He was definitely a Padre and was never a Rocky.
Never a Rocky.
He was out of baseball by '91, so he wasn't even
Wow.
in baseball. The Rockies' first season was '92, right?
Yeah.
I think so, or
Yeah,
'93
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Maybe it was '93. So yeah, that was the other thing that I had on my list for you, was to see how things are going.
By the way, Jordan Spieth just made the most Jordan Spieth par.
Okay.
He sliced his drive like 50 yards off the fairway into the weeds in the right. Then his next shot is about 10 yards from the green, and then he makes the most beautiful chip from about maybe not even a foot to the cup. So the guy is
if he could stay in contention, it would be a huge story.
Every Jordan Spieth hole is a
Yeah.
nightmare, but he always pulls it
Somehow,
out. It's
yeah,
always
yeah.
it's just
somehow.
There's always one bad shot in there.
All right. We are going to chat with Sal Paolantonio here in just 1 second. Stan the Fan Charles is in studio with us this morning. Next week, I will be gone. I am going to be at the beach.
Who's filling in?
Oh, I've
Monday
got,
and
I've
Tuesday
got,
and Friday.
I
next
lined
week.
up. I lined up the
Gary
absolute
Stein?
best fill-in
Gary
host.
Stein?
Ken Zales will be here on Wednesday and Thursday of next week. No, I got to thank both Stan and KZ, who are going to be coming in.
Thank us after.
Yeah, make sure
When
the
you
show's
get
still
back,
here
yeah.
when I come back.
That Stan didn't oversleep
right?
on Monday.
Yeah, I'm going to be at the beach with family, and I appreciate those guys stepping up and coming in to hang out and guest host the show next week. Griffin will be back to hang out with them, so appreciate them doing that next week. Again, Stan on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. KZ will be here on Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Our next guest, of course, one of my favorites, of course, longtime ESPN NFL insider, and he was on Get Up the other day and said, I think the Ravens have a chance to dethrone the Chiefs in the AFC this season. He is our friend, Mr. Sal Paolantonio, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Sal, it's Glenn. Stan the Fan Charles is in studio with me this morning. It's great to chat with you as always, sir. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Glenn, anytime you call, I'm ready to go.
It means the world, my friend. I was not really, the funny thing, knowing how you feel about this team and how they put things together, I was not particularly surprised by what it is that you had to say the other day. Explain to everybody else, why is it that you are so bullish about this Ravens team?
Well, let me take you back. This is what happened. So Mike Greenberg was back in studio, and I've been on Get Up about once a month this off season. Been nice to be in the studio, but Mike was on vacation in Japan, and he comes back, and we have our pre-show meeting at the Seaport Studios, and the producers are talking to us about the show, and they said, let's throw out this question. What team do you think in the AFC has the best chance to unseat the Chiefs as the AFC representatives of the Super Bowl? And they went around the room, and I raised my head, and I said, I think it's the Baltimore Ravens. And they asked me to lay out my case, and I did, and it made it into the show, and it became a definite point of discussion. And I do believe it. After studying what the Ravens have done this offseason and where they were last year, things have to go right. But I just love what the Ravens have done to reconstitute that football team and reconstruct it. And it starts, in my view, Glenn, with the offensive coordinator Todd Bunkin.
Sal, a long time no talk to. Stan the Fan. How you doing, Sal?
Stan, my man.
It's been a while. Hey, we're readying ourselves at PressBox for an August cover. That's going to be a deep dive into everything that the club did surrounding Lamar. I very rarely come up with a headline before the story's been written, but we've tentatively got the headline, how far, comma, Lamar, with a question mark. This is really all about, is Lamar as good as Lamar thinks he is?
Well, of course, Lamar is good. But, I think it's going to be really exciting to see what the Ravens offense is going to look under the tutelage of this new offensive coordinator. And I think it's important for people to go back to the Eagles, the first year of Chip Kelly, because Todd Monken is Chip Kelly light. He will use speed and spacing to force the defense to defend all 53.5 yards horizontally and 100 yards vertically. And he will use speed. And when I say speed, I'm talking about the speed of the players on the field, particularly Flowers, particularly Lamar Jackson, maybe Odell Beckham Jr., and also getting up to the line of scrimmage quickly, no huddle quite a bit, and making sure that, he has enough options when he's back there, whether it's in the shotgun or under center, which he rarely is under center, that he has a lot of options to get the ball out of his hands quickly. What's in vogue now in the NFL is blitzing. And the one way to mitigate the blitz is the ball has to come out of the quarterback's hands quickly. You see it all over the NFL. You're going to see it with the Jets, with Hackett. They're going to eliminate all the motion in the Matt LaFleur offense, and it will be dictated by Aaron Rodgers' pre-snap read and him getting the ball out quickly. And that's why you'll see a dramatic decrease in the number of sacks, even though the Jets' offensive line is always a work in progress. You'll see it with Mac Jones. Bill O'Brien is the king of empty sets. When he was with Deshaun Watson in Houston, they ran the third highest number of empty sets over a 6-year period. And New England last year was last in the league in empty sets. And what do empty sets do? Gives the quarterback options at the line of scrimmage so the ball comes out quickly. And you'll see that with Todd Monken and the Ravens. There'll be a lot of empty sets. There'll be speed to the line of scrimmage, speed getting the ball out, speed going downfield. It'll be speed and spacing. It'll be just like Chip Kelly did with Mike Vick back in, I believe it was 2013 or 14.
Really interesting, Sal, that you picked up on one of the biggest problems I've had with Lamar is not his skill set. It's coming to the line of scrimmage and really being with enough time to really master what he's got to look at and get the plays off in time. There were so many times we'd see it like go down to the wire. It seemed like it was rushed, staggeringly so. Todd Monken will clearly, you're saying, make this a real point of contention.
Point of emphasis.
Yeah, point of emphasis.
I don't think it's Lamar's issue mainly. I think it's the construction of the offense.
Okay.
It's coaching. Coaching matters in the National Football League. Scheme matters on offense, and I think people will be not surprised. I think they'll be shocked by how fast this offense runs. It runs white hot, machine gun fast.
That sounds exciting to us. It sounds really exciting. The great Sal Paolantonio with us here on GCR. Sal, I think one of the things that, everybody knows the Ravens are going to throw more because it's almost impossible to not, right? We were talking about a Greg Roman offense. But you know the same way that we do, of course, that this is still a Ravens franchise that in their DNA has always wanted to be the team that was suited to run the ball and play in cold weather and AFC North games in December and cold situations in January. Do you have a sense yet for what that line might look like for a team that is definitely going to throw the ball more versus still knowing that their DNA is what it is?
Well, I think it's all about deception. The best plan travels well with a bodyguard of lies. That's Churchill, by the way.
Not bad. Not bad.
Right. Write that one down. I've used that before. I got it from my old man, who was a football coach. But I digress. I think, it'll be about deception on the field. It'll be about speed on the field. And, because teams have been challenged severely in lining up with the best possible offensive line due to a lot of different factors. Fewer and fewer good offensive linemen are coming out of college. Offensive linemen are getting injured more. Defenses are blitzing more. The power, speed, and bulk of defensive lines has put so much torque and so much pressure on offensive lines, so that if you use an offense that uses deception and speed, you can mitigate some of that. And I think that's what you'll see here. You saw it last year in Philly. Philly doesn't have a big offensive line, but it has an offensive line that's effective within that offensive system. And that's why everybody calls it the best offensive line. It's an old offensive line. Jason Kelsey is older. Lane Johnson is older. They just got rid of one of their starting guards because he couldn't handle the speed and the complexity of what they do. So, and it took Jordan Mailata almost 5 full years to become a starting left tackle. And then when he finally clicked in, they gave him a big contract. So the Eagles are a good indication, or a good example, illustration of how you use speed, athleticism, and complexity to defeat defensive lines. Now, that didn't happen in the Super Bowl, and that was a problem. When you have a good defensive line, sometimes it can be defeated. But when you have a guy like Lamar Jackson and his, pyrotechnic speed, it really offsets. Remember when we saw Bosa come in, and he would rush the outside so quickly that he would give away what he was doing, and the Ravens just killed them.
Yep.
Remember?
Yep. Oh, it was when
the Chargers came in, they just Lamar's speed and deception just mitigated that pass rush like crazy. Do you remember that game? Was that your place?
100%. Remember it well.
Yeah. So Lamar offsets a lot of that, and I'm anxious to see how OBJ and Zay Flowers work. It won't be that complicated. Zay Flowers will run a lot of 9 routes, and they'll have to use a safety to help out whatever DB is on him. That'll open things up for Mark. That'll open up things for OBJ. That'll open things up for Lamar, J.K. Dobbins. I think Zay Flowers is one of the most important rookies to watch in training camp. We're 7 weeks away from opening day, and I think Zay Flowers is one of the more intriguing rookies in the league, if not the most intriguing rookie, considering the change that you've made at the offensive coordinator position.
Sal, I just wanted to flip over to the defensive side of the ball for a second. What kind of impact do you think David Ojabo will make on this defensive line?
Well, he'll make a very positive impact. I think he'll make a very positive impact. I think the game is about matchups, right, Stan? You know that as well as anybody. You know that, Glenn, as well as anybody. And one of the things that we study on the NFL Matchup Show, and I know you guys watch the show,
Dan.
It's a week-to-week game. So you're demanding mismatches on the offensive and defensive side of the ball in different ways. One is talent. 2 is speed. The other is formation variation or scheme and personnel groupings, which is the hardest way to do it. And, the Ravens have always been terrific at finding one guy or 2 guys on defense, and sometimes more than that, multiple Hall of Famers in their past, that can dominate or make mismatches or create matchup problems through their sheer talent. And this is one guy who can do that.
We are looking forward to seeing an entire season of him after a little bit of a taste that we got a year ago. Sal, I wonder, this felt like kind of a boiling point this week with the running backs around the league, and not just the guys that were immediately impacted, obviously, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, but I thought the tweet that Jonathan Taylor sent out really kind of encapsulated everything. And I was chatting about it with Ray Rice the other day. The J.K. Dobbins situation is very much in the forefront of this, right? Where you understand why a guy says, look, I've been through a lot of things. I kind of like to be paid. And the Ravens say, well, yeah, but no. Like, it just doesn't make sense for us to do this. And I don't know where this goes with running backs because I think Jonathan Taylor's point is correct. Like, it's very clearly being shown you can perform well. We are not going to budget money at running back around the league. We're just choosing that's not where we're going to budget money, and I don't know what changes that.
Yeah, I think it's a big mistake to do that. Running backs, I think, are a critical inflection point in any offense, especially when you want to run the football with your quarterback like Lamar Jackson. Very, very important to have a running back who's at least going to be a deception point for defenses. They have to occupy somebody. And if your running back is not good enough or doesn't have it, it's a mistake not to invest in a good running back. And I get what the economics are and the analytics. And there's another one that I said this on Get Up this past week, Glenn, and that is not all running backs are the same.
That's true.
And so, when you run your offense through your running back, like they do with the Raiders and Josh Jacobs, or they do with the Giants and Saquon Barkley, that's different from what other teams do. Kansas City can get away with using Isaiah Pacheco because they have Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. In the case of Baltimore, you can't tell me that you're going to run that offense without J.K. Dobbins. We saw what happened when they did.
That's a fact.
So you have to come to a compromise and make sure that the player is happy and whole and healthy financially, or else, you're going to have a problem on your hands. I think getting back to the Ravens, J.K. Dobbins is so important. He really is. It's a player. He's healthy. That's going to help them. It really is. And I think the whole, I think this season, the way it's laid out, it's really interesting because they've got all three of their division road games before Halloween.
Mm-hmm. It sets up well. Yeah.
That's amazing to me. If you can, right, Glenn, if you can, let's see, Cincinnati, okay, tough one, right? Let's say they go 1-1 out of the gate. And Indy comes in, you've got to have that one. If you can get one of the next two on the road, at Cleveland or at Pittsburgh, you set up the season very well, I think.
I fully agree, Sal.
Sal, I got a couple questions outside Raven camp for you, just NFL questions in general. You've been around sports a long time. You understood the sanctity of not gambling on games, the changeover where betting is legal, and now we're getting this raft of suspensions. Was it communicated well enough to the players? What do you think happened there? Why we're having this raft of suspensions over betting on football?
I don't have an answer for you on that. I think it was communicated very well by the league and by individual teams. I think they still have to communicate it to these players. The rules that are set up are fairly straightforward. They're not that complicated. But if you're an NFL player, you have to realize that your window of employment and opportunity is small compared to the rest of the world. Let's just take running backs. It's 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So for 3 years, you don't gamble.
Right.
Just don't. I don't gamble. I don't. I'm on ESPN. I don't want to sully my image in any way, shape, or form, and I don't gamble.
my other question outside of Ravens camp, did in the end, did Dan Snyder have any friends among the other 31 owners in the National Football League?
Did he watch that?
Did he have any friends? People that really liked him, wanted to stand up for him, or did he have 31 enemies in this league?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that question. I just don't.
Okay.
I don't know each of the owners well enough.
Okay.
But you could see that the handwriting was on the wall.
Oh yeah.
That investigation was pretty thorough, and they made the decision. It was time to go.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking to Baltimore Ravens fans. They're not too worried about what's going on with the Commanders.
Yeah, there's not a lot of love lost between the. In fact, I joked about it. Sal. I said.
I know the dynamics, Glenn.
Yeah, I know you do. I said her.
Waking up in Baltimore,
right.
concerned about what's happening with the Commanders.
Well, you say that. It's funny. I said this. Nobody deserves what that fan base has been through, right? Like no one does, no matter how you feel about it. No sports fan deserves that, but. It was always kind of nice knowing you only had to compete against 30 other NFL teams instead of 31 others.
I've been around FedEx a lot.
Yeah.
And the people who run that stadium and the fans have always been great to me, soup to nuts, start to finish. And I've covered it back to the Joe Gibbs days, and I've always been welcomed there with open arms, and I'm hoping that they get everything back together because it's the NFC East, and it's always a lot of fun to go down there, especially when the Eagles or the Ravens are involved.
Sal, when is matchup coming back? When will be the first episode of the season?
All right, week 1. We'll be back week 1 with the great Greg Cosell and Darius Butler. We'll be back. It's my 20th, believe it or not. 20, you can see all that gray hair I have on television. 20 years hosting the NFL matchup show.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
You've had an incredible career.
NFL Films people do such a magnificent job. If you've never gone, you guys should come up sometime and watch a taping of the show and come hang out with us and have breakfast in the NFL Films cafeteria, the Ed Sable cafeteria. It's fun.
Sal, this is a promise. I would love to do that. I will be in touch with you about that. I would love to come up and see you guys tape that show. I think that would be awesome.
All right, good.
Sal, it's always a pleasure, my friend. You've always been great to us. Thank you so much for spending a couple of minutes with us this morning. Really enjoyed it and look to do it again as we get closer to the start of the season.
All right, I'll see you down at the Castle and down at M&T Bank Stadium, I'm sure, this year.
Great to hear your voice, Sal. You're one of a kind. You really are.
Thanks, brother. I'll talk to you.
Talk to you later.
Sal Paolantonio from ESPN with us here on GCR. Always appreciate him. He actually had to go out of his way this week in order to make some time for us because we had some technology problems.
Some back and forth with Sal, but
he's always been very kind.
What a guy.
I've always appreciated that. We'll go right from Sal to I got to make a phone call to Delmarva and grab Carter Young here in just 1 second. Today's show brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers, where we're offering new sports. Ironic that we're doing this right after the conversation we just had with Sal.
Yep.
But you're not in the NFL, I don't think. Maybe some of you are because you haven't gone back to work yet. But those of you that aren't in the NFL, we are offering you new sports bettors the best sign-up bonuses and promos from the 7 legal online sports books. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers right now and get offers like $150 in bonus bets from DraftKings after placing your first $10 bet or up to $1,250 in bonus bets from Caesars. Time is limited to get the best offers from all of the sports books. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers and sign up today. All right, it's time for us to make a trip down to Salisbury and chat with a member of the Delmarva Shorebirds, our next guest in his second season. He happens to know one of the newest Baltimore Orioles quite well. He is shortstop Carter Young, and he is with us now here on GCR. Carter, it's Glenn and Stan here in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, Carter, it's great to chat with you, dude. First full pro season, right? Give me the Give me your breakdown. We all know what the numbers are. On-base percentage is excellent. Batting average, probably not where you want it to be. But give me your breakdown of what you've been happiest about that you've accomplished in this first pro season, what it is that you'd say, if I'm critiquing myself, this is what I need to do better.
I think having an open mind about just everything coming into this season and just being open to really learning everything and playing different positions and hitting wherever in the lineup has really been something that I've been open to and just something that's new to me. But I mean, growing up, I've always played. I played all the positions I caught to. But I'm sorry. What was the question?
Just but like what you're proudest of, and then maybe what you're critiquing yourself the most about at this point. Like what
I'm critiquing right now. I mean, there's a lot. There's always something that needs to be critiqued. But I think what I need to work on right now is just the overall hitting aspect and just getting on base more often. And obviously, you mentioned it. My batting average is low, and it's obviously not where I want it to be. But we're doing some things that are very drastic, and I actually like it a lot. Our hitting coach here, Josh Bunselmeyer, he does a really good job, and I love all the stuff he does. And I think a lot of what he has to say has helped me a lot this year, not just in terms of hitting, but also mentally and how I approach every at bat when I step into the box. He's really helped me improve in that as well. So,
Carter, could you explain, because I think a lot of people have heard about some of the different things that the Orioles have done within the organization, but when you say the word drastic, can you maybe try to dumb it down for guys like me that have never were able to hit a fastball, right? Like, and tell me a little bit more about what it is like uniquely that you've been working on, and how maybe you see it helping you as you make progress.
Well, I'm sure, as you guys know, in the past, I want to say like 5 years, we've made some drastic changes just within the whole organization from top to bottom. But I think bringing in younger coaches that want to be open to helping players, be open to whatever players like want to do, I guess, is something that is very new to just the game of baseball. There's a lot of different techniques that are being taught, and that's one thing that you see in college baseball a lot is the ability to transfer to different places, and I think that kind of correlates with you're seeing more of like pro baseball and college baseball just within the past couple of years because of the transfer portal, and it makes it so if you don't like a position that you're in with a hitting coach or with any kind of coach, you can move on to the next one. But in professional baseball, I will say that is one of the things that I like a lot is just how open the hitting coaches are, how open all of the coaches are to maybe a certain kind of drill that I want to do or something of that nature. But I'll give you some examples of what we've been working on. We've been working on a lot of just seeing off-speed pitches, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with pitch, like how pitches move and stuff like that.
Sure.
So how many the vertical run or things like that. Just working on hitting fastballs and fastballs that rise into the zone, that start low and rise into the zone. That's something that really is something that we've been working on as a whole org, and especially where I'm at with Delmarva. So.
That's cool.
Hey, Carter, just for laymen like Glenn and myself, I mean, we've played baseball and Little League and all that. How much time, when you say about making the adjustments to hit a fastball that rises, how much time are we talking about that you have to recognize and then deliver the swing to the right place?
I mean, it definitely, professional baseball, it's definitely changed a lot for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's not that much of a difference between all of the levels of baseball, but there is just that little difference of guys being able to make the right pitch, location being correct, the correct pitch for getting the batter off of his timing. And I want to say that I don't remember what it was, but it's like 0.004 of a second or something like that.
Oh God, you got all the time in the world to make that hit decision, that swing decision.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't even imagine. Right?
Yeah.
You can't do anything in 0.004 of a second. Carter Young is with us. Hey, the Shorebirds are home this weekend. If you're like me and you are headed down to the beach this weekend, stop by in Delmarva. Check out the Shorebirds on the way. Tonight, a barbecue grill set giveaway for the first 1,000 fans.
I think Luke went to
when he was down,
Delmarva.
it makes all the sense in the world. Tomorrow night, fireworks and Margaritaville night. And on Sunday, kids run the bases. Carter, I'm wondering, we mentioned, you say you want to get on base more. Given where your batting average is, your on-base percentage is quite good, right?
Right.
A lot of guys that have come into the Orioles system have had to change their approach. But looking back on your numbers in college, it seems like you've always been pretty patient and pretty disciplined at the plate. Is that something that, has carried with you throughout the course of your life in the sports?
Yeah. Honestly, it actually has been. I would say that's one of the main things that stayed consistent with my gameplay throughout all of the time that I played baseball. Really, is just my ability to pick up good pitches and swing at the right pitches. And I feel like throughout college, obviously there was a little bit of strikeout doubt, and I feel like coming here this year to Delmarva and getting drafted and playing professional baseball, getting more at bats, I think that has helped a lot with just overall pitch recognition and swinging at the right pitches, and maybe time for more fastballs instead of trying to swing at more off speed. And it's just I think the main difference is the difference is just how many at bats you get, because the more often you see pitches, the better off you are at recognizing those pitches later on.
Carter, a little bit of an obscure question, but last night the Orioles moved into first place. One of the key plays in the game was a sacrifice bunt laid down by Adam Frazier. Do young players your age, do they spend any time bunting a baseball and practicing the correct fundamentals to do that?
Yeah. So especially in spring training. Spring training is definitely where we spend a majority of our time working on those smaller fundamentals, like maybe pitchers working on ground balls, which you don't see that very often during the season, but in spring training they're definitely doing that every day. Bunting, base running, all those smaller things. We tune them up like once or twice every week during the season, but during spring training we work on those things every single day, and that's definitely something that we work on throughout our entire organization. I know that's not something that is important in a lot of other organizations, but the Orioles have done a very good job of making sure to stick to the I hate to say it, but the old school rules of baseball. Which, you don't really see those things very often these days, especially with the statistics like launch angle and exit velocity, and like I said, the pitcher's ball movement and stuff like that. So I think small ball is definitely still important with us.
Well, I'm going to give you an observation from a 71-year-old guy who's watched baseball for a long, long time. The way that the shifts have been, made illegal, I see teams still attempting to shift within the rules by playing much deeper. And I think that we've seen, you've noticed it, Glenn, so many infield singles that are nubbers that in the past the third baseman would come in and make a play. There's a lot of room to get base hits and get on base by a skilled bunter today. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. In the big leagues, a lot of time you see guys trying to cheat the shift, the new shift rules. I saw early in the year, I want to say it was one of the first couple months of the season, they shifted Joey Gallo with, I think they put 1 one of the outfielders I think they put the left fielder in right field, in shallow right field, so that it was pretty much just like having the third baseman go back over into that shift. So, yeah, I mean, there's loopholes, there's different ways. I mean, you can't hate it because they're just playing the game. They're trying to find the best way to
right, and they can't
out.
they can't hate you for bunting in front of them.
Right, yeah.
And my point is, I'm guessing you're not considered an elite power prospect.
I don't know. He had that big home run season at
okay.
Vanderbilt. Yeah,
Okay.
had a pretty big home run season.
Well, then maybe I'll shut up. Keep swinging away, baby. Now, I see it out there, and I see there's a way to take advantage of it from smart players. And I'm assuming you went to Vanderbilt. You must be
you're
pretty
obviously
smart.
quite smart. Yeah, we weren't allowed in at Vanderbilt. Stan and I
went to the bathroom once.
Yeah,
there.
and they kicked us off campus. Carter, I imagine that had to be a neat moment for you 2 weeks ago. Obviously, the Orioles announced they've drafted Enrique. We had the opportunity to chat with him last week. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with him, your excitement to be back around him, and what we all should know about him?
So my relationship with Enrique started actually when I was 17 years old, maybe 16. We actually played together with one of the USA national teams. It wasn't a team that went to any other country or anything. It was just one that I think we played at Wrigley together. So it was just like a round robin tournament, I guess, with two teams. He was on the other team and I was on one of the other teams. But that's when our relationship started, and then after that, he went to Vandy. I was already at Vandy, and we became pretty good friends. We were obviously two of the bigger names at Vandy right after Jack Leiter and Kumar left.
Yeah, decent group of you that were there, by the way. Decent little group of talent y'all put together. I wonder how you managed to make the World Series final. Seems crazy.
Yeah, but he's a good kid, really good kid. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Really good family, amazing family. His family has always reached out to my family whenever they needed anything, or it's just a really good kid. Definitely will fire everybody up when he gets here. He's got a lot of tools, and I'm excited to be able to play with him again at some point.
That's awesome. That is awesome. It's a really cool story the way that's worked out. And then I joked about it, but we saw some serious pop from you during your time at Vanderbilt. Is it something that you would say to us? I don't know if I was ever going to be that guy, or do you feel like that's still in you as you progress? That getting to that place where you can put up some real power numbers is still something that you're looking to try to do over the course of the next couple of years.
Yeah. When that happened, I had no expectations of that happening. I didn't know that I was going to have one of those types of seasons. But after seeing it happen one time and hopefully, doing the same things and just having the same routines and being able to go in and do the same thing every day, hopefully I can be able to have one of those seasons again. But injuries happen, things of that sort happen, and I'm hoping for it to happen again.
We'll echo that then. We'll echo that we're hoping for it to happen again as well. And if not, Stan already painted that you become the best bunter in the history of baseball, and that's the move. That's the path. Carter, it's Carter Young 2 on Instagram. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Carter Young 2 on Instagram, if you want to give him a follow there.
I just want to say, the old slogan, chicks dig the long ball. I see a new thing with you, Carter. Chicks dig the bunter,
Right. That's the thing. That is going to get everybody back.
And they find sexy playing Pepper. That's what they really get
bunting.
turned on by.
Those are the two. Hey, Carter, appreciate you, man. I'm rooting to continue to see you succeed, man. Best of luck as the season goes on, and look forward to doing this again down the road. Thank you for taking the time for us.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thanks, man. Carter Young with us here on GCR from down in Delmarva. Yeah, I might try to go Sunday night now that I look at. Although I didn't. I literally was doing the math as I.
Oh, you're going down. Okay, you're going to be down.
The ideal way to do it is to stop on the way, right?
Right.
Like that's unfortunately once you get to the beach, it's a pretty good haul back.
Oh, it's like 40 minutes minimum.
Well, and we're staying in Bethany, so it's even more than that.
That's the best place down there.
I love Bethany.
Undoubtedly.
Don't get me wrong.
Have you ever eaten at an old sponsor's place? Steve
Over
Big Bats?
100% I've eaten at Big Bats.
The kids would love that place.
I completely agree. I'm trying to figure out what our plan is for leaving tomorrow.
Glenn, are you taking the kids, or are you going alone? Or
No. I mean, the family's going.
Oh, okay.
Family's going. So they originally. It's a very long story.
You're not locking the doors and just
just
leaving
say
the
good
kids
luck.
in with food.
Hey, good luck,
plenty
and the
of
dog.
food.
Yeah, right. Like have a good. I'll look after each other now.
He's 8. He's old enough.
Yeah,
Come
right.
on.
He's got this. He can warm up a hot pocket. So this story. My wife's grandfather lived in Easton. He had lost his arm in war, right? And so he had a caretaker.
Right.
And the caretaker was essentially like family to them. So they were hoping to drive down tomorrow and have lunch with their grandfather's caretaker on the way to the beach.
Right.
But I guess that might not be happening. So now we got to figure out. We might have the chance. Like I was looking at the map. There is a game tomorrow at 5 o'clock that if they're cool with me taking the boys to the game, because we're going to drive 2 cars anyway.
Right.
She and her mom are going with us. That they could go on.
You're just
going to
veer off.
I veer off. I take the boys to the game tomorrow night at 5. They go to the beach. We meet them there afterwards. All's good.
Yep.
I would like to at least suggest that. We will see what the reception is.
It's not going to go. It's not going to go over.
No
well.
doubt that the response is going to be like, I don't know. They're not going to get any sleep. I don't.
Yeah. I told you not to get married.
I know.
Didn't
you
I?
did. You made it very clear.
I didn't
You
say
said,
don't have kids.
Right. That
but
part
I
is
said-
okay.
yeah.
It's the getting married part that's an issue. It's what it is. All right, we'll come back in. I do want to talk to you about the Dan Snyder stuff and obviously the new ownership in D.C.
Yeah.
Then we'll get a tidbit and two-bit to wrap up for the week. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Catch that festival feeling in Charm City. Everywhere you go, you'll find exciting entertainment, delicious eats, and endless summertime fun. Cheer on the O's at Camden Yards, pick crabs by the waterfront, beat the heat inside a world-class museum, and make memories that will last a lifetime. Go to baltimore.org for more information and to plan your visit.
I'm Michael Jangrandy, president of AJ Michaels, your carrier energy expert for 44 years. Save money, energy, and make your home more comfortable and virus-free. Find us at ajmichaels.com. That's ajmichaels.com.
Your summer destination is closer than you think at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. With an expansive gaming floor and incredible dining options ready for you to explore, your adventure awaits. Dine at the new Coho Korean Barbecue House coming in July or on the patio at the Prime Rib. Enjoy the summertime breeze at Orchid Smoking Patio. Limited time packages starting at $229. What are you waiting for? Book now. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All electronic tolling is here to stay in Maryland, and DriveEasyMD.com helps you cruise a little easier. We're Maryland's tolling resource, home to Easy Pass, pay-by-plate, and video tolling. It's never been easier to pay your way. DriveEasyMD.com will keep you moving.
The Orioles are off and running, out to prove that last season wasn't a fluke, and they are one of the best teams in baseball. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, host of the Bataround for PressBox. Tune in every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon as Zack Goodman and I break down every Adley bomb, every Tony Tater, and every save from the mountain. Like a warm hug from Rutschman, the Bataround has you covered with all things Orioles as we embark on what's sure to be a magical summer in Birdland. So tune in every Saturday for the best in Orioles coverage right here on the Bataround.
It's another exciting weekend of affordable family fun at Prince George's Stadium with the Bowie Bay Sox. Weekend starts on the 21st with our Bowie Pit Beef Night. Come on out and grab a bite. Back-to-back fireworks carry on to Saturday with the Island Luau, a free Bay Sox Hawaiian shirt to the first 750 fans. And it closes on Sunday with Heroes Day. Bay Sox jerseys auctioned off to support local charities. Get your tickets now by calling 301-805-6000 or anytime online at baysox.com. The Bowie Bay Sox. Let us be your 9-inning vacation.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Costas Inn has been serving up delicious steamed crabs for over 50 years. Lately, the crabs you want to eat when the weather warms up have gotten harder and harder to get. So get your crab eating game plan in place. Make sure to stick this number on your fridge, 410-477-1975. Call ahead and reserve the size crabs you want. You may be able to walk in, but you may also be disappointed at the size or maybe even get shut out altogether. So call ahead, have a plan, and then arrive on your crab eating vacation. Costas also has delicious crab soup and crab cakes. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard. For more than 50 years, they've been satisfying crab lovers in and around Baltimore.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
Winding down for the day and for the week, Stan the Fan Charles in studio with us on GCR. Stan, if anybody hasn't picked up this print issue of PressBox yet,
going fast.
Yeah, I don't know what you're waiting for. This is just about the last call for you to get to your neighborhood Royal Farms. I think there's hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. You can always read it at PressBoxOnline.com. It's a wonderful issue celebrating the life and legacy of the great Tony Saragusa. Just an outstanding cover story from our friend Dave Ginsburg about the Goose and how his family is keeping his legacy alive. It's a really wonderful story. I encourage you to check it out.
Yeah.
Stan, we were talking about it with Sal a little bit. Obviously, yesterday was a day of joy for our friends to the South as it marked the end of Dan Snyder's tenure as owner of the Washington Commanders, or whatever it is that you want to call them.
Friends is a interesting assertion.
Well,
I'm kidding.
I've lost a lot. They have been so bad that I have lost all the vitriol that I had once upon a time.
I'm totally with you there.
Yeah.
They've had a football team, but the fan base there knows that they haven't had a credible football team since Dan Snyder really took over.
So,
briefly, when Gibbs came back, he wasn't the same coach, but he did at least get them to the playoffs.
they felt like they mattered for a minute.
They felt like they mattered for a minute.
Yep.
Yeah. So they've been humbled much the way Baltimore was humbled
100%.
by being run by Robert Irsay. And, there's an old expression, you can't F up cornflakes. Robert Irsay and Dan Snyder managed to F up cornflakes.
Yeah, right? The most successful, beloved franchises you could ever possibly imagine.
Two of the most of all time in the National Football League. The waiting list for tickets for Redskin games was off the charts. Now you basically can't give tickets away.
And I think the biggest part of that is the stadium is so...
Well, I mean, the stadium's an abomination.
Horrible.
Yeah,
that
it's an abomination.
I had to go there once when I worked for a company 2 years ago or so. Part of our job was going to football games, actually. It would take a while to explain why. But
you were way too young to have a job that required anything.
Well,
were you the guy drawing the first down line on the field? Is that what you were doing?
That was not
It
what
was
I was
weird
doing,
how
but...
every time he would run out on the field and he would manage to get the paint down and then he would somehow get it back up one play later. It was crazy.
Anyway, point of the story is that they were playing the Eagles that day, and that was the day
I only say that I had a friend who was the first ever guy that put the first down line on. Now, he did it from a truck, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
But he still had to go he would have to go to a city when they were first in the infancy of the first down line. You have to go to whatever city and do it from a truck outside there. Now, I don't think you have to be on site for any of that stuff.
And so the one time I go there, this is the Eagles game, and the guy falls out of the stands because the wall collapses on Jalen Hurts.
Oh, yeah.
So I was there at that game. I saw that happen, and that was...
You didn't get sprayed with any of the loose plumbing.
The sewage did not come down on me, but that was a few days before. Thank God I wasn't there.
Yeah, that obviously is an abomination, and that's something that's very high on the list for Josh Harris, is figuring out where the next stadium will be. And
try not in Maryland this time. That would help.
Well, there was no competition because nobody wanted to work with Dan Snyder. The question now becomes, I have not heard Governor Moore talk about it. I know Larry Hogan was very interested in keeping the stadium in Maryland, and I would think that in a certain extent, Wes Moore would have some interest in keeping the stadium in Maryland. But
Bet Terry Hasseltine would.
I have no doubt that Terry Hasseltine would like to keep the stadium in Maryland. But I think there's a limit now to how many concessions you're willing to give.
Yeah.
Probably more willing to work.
I
think there was no doubt that the leadership here in Maryland was not going to work with Dan Snyder anymore.
Correct.
There were not going to be any further concessions given to Dan Snyder.
Right.
That franchise's prerogative would be they would probably say, we would like to go back to the old RFK site, right?
I was going to say, that's the spot.
Where we'd want to be. Will that be the best option for them? To be determined. And I think they're going to kind of shop that around between the three, governments.
They'll explore Virginia and Governor
100%.
Youngkin there
Yep.
about bringing the team to Northern Virginia. There seems to be a push at least there's conversations around Monumental Sports about moving the franchises there in D.C. to Virginia. So maybe Governor Youngkin and the legislature there, and if they have somebody that's the equivalent of Terry or a head of the Maryland Stadium Authority like Craig Thompson, that maybe they'll explore doing some kind of big...
Yes, sort of a community, right?
Yeah.
Like let's put an arena and a stadium here and try to do something like that. But, I have said before, my vitriol's largely been gone. You were kicking a dead horse, right? Like making fun of Washington, you almost felt sad. It was unsportsmanlike.
Yeah.
So my vitriol is largely gone. But what I said, I do kind of stand. It was always kind of nice to know there was at least one franchise that was run by a buffoon that couldn't get out of their own way, because then you knew you had less competition, right? Like,
do you think there's any chance, not whether or not that they change the name back to the Redskins? Do you think the name? You think the Commanders will stick?
Apparently, like Magic Johnson, who's part of the ownership group now, was on the Today Show this morning talking about that and said, we're going to explore that. And, like, they are leaving open the possibility.
Yeah. I would scrap everything that has to do with Dan Snyder.
Anything that you can connect back to Dan Snyder,
Right.
just saying we need to get on from it.
Unless it's like a really good person who works in the front office that you have a lot of confidence in, I would literally start as fresh as you can, because that is, and I think really...
Well, and there's no positive history. Like, nobody in D.C. has any feelings for the Commanders except for that silly song that they like.
The Commanders is a horrible name.
I don't
It's
disagree with it.
terrible.
It's
Horrible.
Absolutely awful.
I don't disagree with that at all. I just, at some point, how many times can you rebrand, remarket,
It makes me think of like a toy ship. I don't know why. That's just what I think of. I hear the name
funny.
Washington Commanders.
I think there's a limit to how much you can ask of a fan. Like, there might be somebody in the fan base that said, look, man, I've spent all this money on all this gear and all this, like, you were going to do this again?
Right.
Like, I don't know, but I would be inclined to agree with you. Commanders
Some guy
is
definitely has a
stupid.
Taylor Heineke jersey laying around, and he's
What a
upset
sad-
about it.
What a sad... Although I say that, I'm pretty sure as a kid I asked for an Eric Zier jersey one year. Like, I remember when Eric Zier played at the end of the season and played well, and we were all like, "Man, they could come back next year with Eric Zier as the quarterback, and they could be when things change." I'm almost certain. I don't think I got a jersey. I think I got my parents to get me a T-shirt jersey, like a
Jersey
with Jersey with Eric Zier's name and number on it.
Never heard that before.
Yeah,
Jersey.
that's the Orioles give those out a lot during the course of the year. All right, we are told that today is a good tidbit, so we will find out if that's the case or not. Tidbit of the day is brought to you today by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
All right, so Royal Liverpool is where the current Open Championship is happening.
It's the British Open.
British Open.
Sakes.
They call it the Open.
Over here.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, 36 hole totals of the last two Open champions to win at Royal Liverpool. That is Rory McIlroy in 2014 and Tiger Woods in 2006. 132 through 36 holes. 132 through 36 holes, which is where Brian Harmon, who currently leads
and is definitely a real person
in
that
2020,
you didn't just make up
in
earlier
2023, right now is also at 132 through
How
36
about
holes. The last two guys to win also there. Brian Harmon looks like he's on a pretty
How many
good track.
strokes is he up by at 132?
He is up by 5 last time I checked, and that's over Jordan Spieth.
Actually, Antoine Rosner is now in second place.
Oh, is he?
5 under.
Okay.
Jordan Spieth
All right.
is given a shot back. He's at 4 under.
Interesting. Okay, so Jordan Spieth, I did see him make a bogey a few minutes ago. So
But a
that
significant
must
lead,
have been what
a
happened.
significant lead for whoever Brian Harmon is.
Yes, Brian Harmon well up, and again,
Has he
right
teed-
in line.
has he teed-
He finished his
he's
round.
finished.
He finished his second
Finished
round.
with a 65
That's right, you
today.
said that, okay.
So really quite good from Brian Harmon. So in the spirit of Brian Harmon and Open champions,
This is going to be a golf
Glenn,
theme.
This is going to be a
Oh,
golf theme one. I want you to name
It's
the
gonna be
last.
easy.
Stan,
It's
you
gonna
sure
be
you don't
ea-
have to leave?
It's
You
gonna
sure
be
you don't
easy.
have
The last two guys to be at
Yeah,
132 is Rory
Rory
McIlroy
McIlroy and
Tiger Woods.
Nailed it. Well, way to go.
I would never give you that one. That
Way to
sounds
go.
impossible. But I want you to name, Glenn, since you have a lot of golf-themed things in the show with
Glad he just
your friend
mentioned
Drew
your
Forrester.
name.
Yeah.
So
Stan's,
I'm
Stan,
out
you're-
of-
Stan's
I'm
off
out
the
of
hook on this
right.
one.
You're in this as well. I feel like Glenn, given that he has Drew Forrester in every week, should do a little bit better here than you, Stan. I don't know how much you pay attention to golf, but I'm going to pose the question for both of you. The last 5 British Open champions, can you name them?
I don't know that I can name the last 2.
Really? That's okay.
Maybe I follow. Did Colin Montgomery win one?
Well, you're
Monty.
The last 5.
There is a Colin that won.
Colin
2 years
Morikawa.
ago.
Yeah, of course.
So
Colin Morikawa.
Colin Morikawa won in 2021.
Okay.
Last year's winner was Cameron Smith.
Correct. So you are 2 out of 5. The next 3 are a little bit harder, but there's a guy that's currently in contention right now that is having a pretty good day.
Oh, does this go back to when Jordan Spieth won?
Jordan Spieth won in 2017.
Okay. That's 3, right?
Obviously, there was none in 2020, so we skipped that. COVID-19 was the winner, I guess, in 2020.
2018 and 2019 British Opens.
Yeah, I'll be honest. 2018 is a tough one, but if you follow it, you would know it.
These are last 5 winners.
Correct. So we have Morikawa, Cameron Smith,
the year
and Jordan
that
Spieth.
Henrik Stenson won. Is that in there?
2016, Henrik Stenson won.
So now we need one more?
No, it was before.
Oh, okay. What about
was too long.
Dustin Johnson?
Dustin Johnson, I don't think has ever won
the Open.
And to go back, no, he has
I don't
not.
know why I'm struggling with who these 2 guys are. This is actually the type of thing that I would typically
I can give you the
know.
countries they're from, if that helps.
Okay, sure.
So the 2018 winners from Italy.
Oh,
and
Molinari. Yeah,
Francesco
Molinari.
Molinari won in 2018. And then Ireland is the 2019 winner.
It's not Padraig Harrington.
No, he won back in 2008 and 2007.
It's not. Oh, what the hell is that guy's name?
He's actually, I believe I saw him earlier. I don't think he's having a great day.
You have to channel your inner immaculate grid.
Right, in order to come up with this one.
Immaculate.
I know who the guy is. I just can't think of it.
That counts.
Yeah, right.
He knows.
Trust me, bro.
So if we mention the name, you'll tell us honestly whether that was who
Oh,
you were
100%.
thinking of.
Oh, I
Okay.
guarantee it's exactly one.
Yeah.
And he hasn't won again since. Like, he hasn't won another.
Well, I don't know. I can see if he won.
Well, I don't know if
something
maybe he's won a tournament, but he's never won another major championship.
Another major since then. I don't
No.
remember him doing that.
I know the guy. The hell is that guy's name?
So he came in 3rd in the Masters in 2022. He came in 4th in the PGA Championship in 2021, and won the Open.
It's a roundabout
in
way for me to tell me I was
2019.
right. I was right. He hasn't won another major championship.
Correct. Yes. Correct.
All right, you're gonna have to tell me.
Shane Lowry is the 2019 winner
That was
of
the guy you were
British
thinking of.
Open.
Well, that
1,000%.
counts. That counts.
Yeah,
By the way,
right,
Wyndham
1,000.
Clark climbing in here. He's at 7th now. He just hit a very, very.
I much
Yeah,
like Brian
pretty good
Harmon,
shot.
I had never heard of Wyndham Clark until the U.S. Open. So we'll see.
I just remember hearing Wyndham Clark's name like 3 years ago because the hotel chain named Wyndham,
Okay.
and I thought it was funny. And he's actually been pretty good over the past
What's
year.
Brian Harmon's? He's 36 years old. Brian Harmon. He finished tied for 2nd at the 2017 U.S. Open.
Huh, didn't know that.
Okay, there you go. And he has won the John Deere Classic and the Wells Fargo Championship. Those are his 2 PGA Tour wins.
John Deere, I'm pretty sure, not a very big championship.
Definitely not.
Wells Fargo, I think, is like a middling one. Like not.
That's the one they play in Charlotte, right?
I think so.
They actually get a decent. I think they get a decent field.
Yeah, I want to say John Rahm won that this
Yeah, that
year.
sounds
I could be wrong. I don't know.
All right, very good. Tubular for the weekend, as we mentioned earlier, Orioles-Rays. Tonight, 6:40 on MASN, Kyle Bradish and Zach Eflin. Tomorrow, 4 o'clock for tomorrow's game, Grayson Rodriguez and Shane McClanahan, as Stan said.
Or Shane Lowry, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Shane Lowry.
Probably not Shane Lowry.
That's, of course, Baltimore native Shane McClanahan. That's tomorrow on MASN at 4 o'clock. And Sunday, 1:30 for Tyler Wells and Taj Bradley.
What time is Sunday?
1:30. 1:30 on Sunday. 4 o'clock tomorrow, 1:30 on Sunday. British Open coverage on NBC tomorrow starting at 7 a.m. and on Sunday on NBC starting at 7 a.m. I think Drew is telling me it'll probably wind down in like the 1 o'clock hour on Sunday, will be about when they crown a champion at the British Open. The U.S. women play their opener in the World Cup tonight on Fox against Vietnam at 9 o'clock. And the Baseball Hall of Fame ceremony is on Sunday on MLB Network.
Jim Henneman is visiting Cooperstown this week.
As always, Jim is involved with the Hall of Fame. Like he's I don't know what exactly what that is, but I know he's been involved with the Hall of Fame for a long time.
He writes some stuff for their publication.
I think that's right. Sunday 1:30 on MLB Network. So again, one of those.
Scott Rowland and Fred McGriff.
Correct.
By the way, Shane Lowry just had a pot bunker shot. Now, if you know what the pot bunkers look like over at Royal Liverpool, you'll know it's on. He just hit one of the best shots that I've seen all day, and I've been watching this for the past 2 hours
Zach's
or so.
so excited about it.
So Shane Lowry, he's +2 right now.
If we
he has a
asked
chance
Zach about anything that we did on the show today, it might be difficult.
Shane
I'm
Lowry
pretty sure
only
he's just
2
been
over.
watching golf for the last 2.
Nah, that's
pretty sure that's the
only
case.
half accurate.
Only half.
Only half accurate.
And tonight is the night where Leo Messi makes his debut for Inter Miami as they play.
Their season starting?
No, they've been playing for a little while.
Oh, okay.
But he's coming in starting tonight.
The MLS makes virtually no sense when it comes to player acquisition.
Well, and tonight isn't even an MLS match.
Oh,
it's
good.
some other competition. But he's going to play for Inter Miami tonight against.
Is he still playing at that high a level that he
this
can impact this team?
Yes. He was the best player in the World Cup, just this past November and December. It's easy to dismiss Messi, and I talked about this with some of my soccer friends. If you're not a hardcore soccer fan, you will dismiss the significance of this because you will say, I saw this with David Beckham. I saw this with Thierry Henry. I saw this with David Villa, all of the many Zlatan Ibrahimovic. There have been any number of international stars that came at the very end of their career and took some money playing in MLS, and it just didn't matter.
Work. Yeah.
Messi is the closest.
Did you mention Wayne Rooney?
Rooney, of course, in D.C., absolutely. Messi is the closest to his prime of any of those guys that have come over. Now, I'm not going to oversell that either and suggest that suddenly it's going to make everybody watch MLS, but
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Tonight, 8 o'clock.
For how many years is it a big deal? 2?
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah. I think that's about for 2. I mean, look, I do remember when David.
What are they paying him for a season?
Well, Apple's doing most of the paying. Hang on a second. I don't remember.
It's got to be absurd, whatever it is. It's got to be absurd.
Hang on a second. I'll tell you exactly what it is.
What do you mean by that? Apple is doing most of the paying.
Apple is now the partner for the MLS. Like all the matches stream through Apple.
Oh, Apple TV Plus.
They got involved
with
directly
eyeballs on these games
with the Messi deal. Like I think gave him like a piece of the deal. Like there was a direct involvement.
That's a great way to run a league.
Yeah, right. Have the broadcast partner
through Apple.
Deal is worth $150 million in total over
3 years.
I think it's something like that. Yes.
So he's basically making $50 million a year,
plus huge incentives, most likely.
He's basically pissing on Chris Davis' money.
Something like that. Something like that.
Chris Davis is still making something like $50 million a year with the Orioles right now, but
Slam Ball returns. If you remember years ago when ESPN tried that ridiculous combination of trampolines and basketball, they have brought that back, and it's on tonight at 7 o'clock.
Can't wait for that.
I know you can't miss Slam Ball. Of course, Righteous Gemstones.
Is that on against the Oriole game?
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to choose the Orioles, right? Like you're going to miss.
I got to move
it's
the
a
other
shame
TV
that you're going to miss, right? Of course, the big story this weekend is the movies that are out, because this is the weekend where both Barbie and Oppenheimer hit movie theaters. And you're going to a double feature, right, tonight of Barbie and Oppenheimer?
Yes.
After Slam Ball, obviously.
No, the one I'm going to see is
After
Barbie
Slam Ball.
Does Oppenheimer.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I did have a moment, by the way, where I realized I have not been to the Orioles being good really wrecks me for all of the other content that I want to watch.
Right.
Because you have to choose between, like, I'm going to choose to go to the Counting Crows show tonight, but most nights I'm like, boy, I really wanted to see Mission Impossible, right? But you have to pick to not watch the Orioles in order to go do that.
Didn't you see it?
I didn't get to see Mission Impossible.
Somebody told me it's absolutely
Everybody
fabulous.
said it's wonderful, and I wanted to go.
I'm trying to remember who that was if it wasn't
I
you.
just don't want to not watch baseball on a given night. Like, I'm enamored with watching baseball, so
imagine that.
Tough decision.
Imagine that.
Stan the Fan, you will be in on Monday.
Yeah.
For this show.
Yep.
Then later that day, you and Ross and Luke will get together
at 4:00. Yep.
That is coming up this Monday, and of course, Stan will be on with Zach and Paul tomorrow morning on the Bataround from 10 to noon.
Correct.
As well. You have any idea?
And next Thursday, Gary Stein and I will chat with former Towson University football coach Rob Ambrose, who I caught up with yesterday, and he's having a relaxing time.
Good for him. He's earned a little bit of a respite.
Yep.
You guys, anything else on the docket tomorrow?
I have absolutely
Actually,
no
I'm
idea.
not going to be on with the Bataround tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Because they've got somebody that could only
you know what?
do.
I do remember. Paul texted me, actually, so
Yeah.
let me pull
Look at
that
you.
up.
Look at you.
This is the first time maybe in like...
Getting ready to plug something on the show.
He asked me.
Paul said that we have...
We got rid of the old
I got it.
geezer.
Well, it'll be a mystery. It could be anyone.
Orestes Estrada.
I like Orestes.
Who
Yeah.
does Tampa Bay's...
Yeah.
well,
He's
not anymore. He was with Tampa Bay Broadcasting, and now he is no longer...
Prominent slugger, Orestes Estrada.
Marlins first baseman back in the day.
The Big O.
And then Jonathan Mayo will also be joining
They've
us
got
tomorrow.
Jonathan Mayo in the 11 o'clock hour, and Orestes Estrada
There you go.
contacted me about coming on to talk O's Rays. Since they're playing 4 this week, his best time is 10:30, and
There
we
you go.
already have Jonathan Mayo in 11 o'clock.
Is this your way of? Did you say, well, you can get right the F out. I'll never come on with you again.
I haven't told them that.
Not yet.
What I intend to do is back out at about 9:55 next Saturday.
All right, that's the Bataround tomorrow morning, 10 to noon with those guys. Thanks today to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners. Visit Baltimore, Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, Glory Days Grill, Dorchester County, the Bowie Bay Sox, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, All-American Lacrosse, Baltimore Orioles, Birdland Sports, Easy Pass MD, Washington County, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Zach for all his hard work this week. We had a trying week around here. Zach rolled with the punches as we were going through some stuff, so I appreciate it. At ZGoodman20, of course, on Twitter, and the Bataround tomorrow morning.
Yep.
At Stan the Fan on Twitter. Oh, I didn't thank our guests. I guess I should do that too. Thanks,
Sal Paolantonio.
Yeah, Sal Paolantonio, Tippy Martinez, and Carter Young. We'll get all that up in the greatest hits section of the
archives.
Tab at glennclarkradio.com. I will see you guys 1 week from Monday. Enjoy your weekend and enjoy your week of hanging out with Stan and KZ. Follow us on Twitter at Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great weekend. Go Birds. Go